game. If you think you're out of chips, you are gone. I like that rule.
Matern is left with only 13,000.
Sit down.
Shipping the chair around.
Matern will have the steepest of climbs to get back in the fight here in London. He's got enough for a small blind, a big blind, and one ante. This Frenchman better get busy. Welcome back to London. Big Ben, one of the many famous sites neighboring the casino at the Empire. Inside the casino, 19 players are left, including one of the bigger stacks in contention, Phil Ivey.
Unless you wanted me just to bring it your hotel, you can meet me tomorrow. Whatever's good for you, sir. It's my city. I'm here to help you when I'm in your city.
Whatever makes you happy. Whatever makes you happy makes me happy.
It's nice to be important, but it's more important
One
to
of
be
the
nice.
many differences between me and you.
That's what they say, right? It's nice to be important, but it's more important to be nice. Who says that? I've never heard that. Roland the Wolf says that.
Former poker journalist is full of clever sayings.
Anything you need while you're in London and I can help, I will. I endeavour to do that.
Thank you.
Sounds like a scam to me, Phil.
Because you're my friend and I live here, so I feel like I should do that, and I want to.
This is why Phil Ivey correctly usually doesn't get into conversations with anyone.
I've never been to Las Vegas, but if I did, I'm sure you'd help me out and look after me.
He's got a World Series bracelet. He's never been to Las Vegas. I'm telling you, he's a bunco artist.
Action at this featured table on Bojan Gledovic, 29-year-old poker pro from Serbia.
Notice Gledovic is not offering to take care of Roland de Wolf if he's ever in Belgrade.
Gledovic with ace-jack made a raise to 20,000. Pocket sixes for Clint Coffey.
Clint Coffey, I believe, also would not show Roland de Wolf around if he's ever in Boulder.
Yeah, he's a smart kid. He has 2 degrees from the University of Texas.
Yeah, but his online screen name is Inane Fool.
All right, so it evens out. Coffey makes the call with sixes to the small blind. Baldassari with 7 deuce.
Is there a 7 deuce bonus at this table?
Really, there should be. Baldassari lays it down to the big blind. Phil Ivey with king queen.
I like the leather.
Ivey for 12,000 more makes the call. 3 players will see the flop. As you see by the percentages, it's anyone's hand. Coffey with the only pocket pair. Here's the flop now. Ace, king, 4. Pair of kings for Ivey, but he's second best. He checks. Gledovic flop top pair.
Gledovic 165th at the 2010 World Series main event in Las Vegas. I believe that's better than my main man Phil Ivey did this year.
Oh, that's right. Great flop for Gledovic. And he's going to bet it. 45,000. Coffey now way behind with his pocket sixes. And he seems to know it. He lays it down. Back to Ivey now.
Ivey at age 34, the youngest ever to win 8 bracelets.
Ivey with middle pair makes the call. Heads up to the turn.
Gledovic probably worried, but Ivey's the one who should be concerned.
Turn card, deuce of spades. Ivey still in trouble. Phil checks again.
Gledovic's body looks like he's about to push everything in the middle with all his might.
Gledovic is reaching for chips. With his top pair, makes it 100,000. That's a big bet with the best hand.
I don't know if it's possible that Phil Ivey is even more intimidating in leather.
Well, Gledovic now will find out if Ivey has a real hand.
Well, Phil 2 for 2 today in pristine reads we've seen. If he calls here, it looks like he's going to be 2 for 3.
Gledovic trying to appear casual to Ivey as Ivey studies him. Phil with not the best hand makes the call.
You know, when I check call, it never works out. Maybe Ivey's got a plan, Lon.
All right, so to the river they go. It's a 9 of clubs. Gledovic has the best of it. Phil checks a third time.
Gledovic here, perhaps thinking about a value bet.
Gledovic has the ace, but checks it.
King.
And Ivey's king comes up second best.
A bad read, Phil. I'm not talking to him. He's Roland de Wolf's problem now.
Gledovic takes that pot of over 360,000. Ivey gives up over 20% of his stack.
Bum.
He drops below 600,000 while Gledovic vaults over the 600,000 chip mark. All right, let's get back upstairs here at the casino at the Empire with ace-king suited. Victor Blom open raised to 19,000. And the small blind, Danny Steinberg has ace-deuce.
I like that shirt. A lot of pockets.
Steinberg He's going to raise it up to 70,000. Steinberg was the best golfer on his high school team.
I'd like to play big pots now.
But that raise with ace deuce was golf's equivalent of a shank.
A little late to put the shades on, no?
That's all.
Blom makes the call for 51,000 more with ace king.
Be the 22-year-old Steinberg against the 20-year-old Blum.
The flop king ace 9. Victor Blom flops top 2 pair. Only a pair of aces for Danny Steinberg.
Steinberg using just his right hand to dig his own grave here.
And you see what trouble he's in by the percentages. Steinberg first to act. That's 80,000. That would be like a duck hook on the golf course, Norman.
Well, Steinberg line would need running deuces or running nines, or he'd have to bet enough to push Blum off this hand.
Victor Blum with ace king, top 2 pair. Does he want to raise it up or keep Steinberg on the hook? He just calls. Turn card now is a 6. Steinberg now drawing dead. Let's see what shots he has in his bag now. Steinberg checks this time.
Both these players quite aggressive. Blum known to be hyper-aggressive, sometimes reckless, but he's got Steinberg on the hook right here.
Victor Blum with chips. How much does he think he can get? 130,000. Steinberg finally concedes, and Victor Blum will take that pot.
Steinberg gets out before it cuts too deep. Good fold.
After taking the chip lead earlier, Blum took some hits, but he's on his way back now.
You know I have it.
Is it possible there's just one barber in all of Scandinavia?
You might be right about that. Let's get back to the featured table. 7 players here. Ronald Lee once again is the chip leader, sitting at this table in first position with ace deuce of hearts.
Lee, another online pro, starting to dabble in live play.
24-year-old from New York raises the action to 18,000. Let's see if he can handle this table with ace deuce. Fold it over to Baldessari.
Baldessari looks so studied. I don't buy it.
He folds king 7. Ivy now on the button with ace jack, makes the call.
Ivy, of course, a live pro who dabbles in all types of gaming.
Folded to the big blind.
Miss all the 50-50s.
Roland with king trade, gives it up, so heads up. Lee with the weakest of aces, and Ivy with a strong ace. Lee with the chip lead, Ivy with a very strong stack. Here's the flop 9 trade. Neither pairs up. Lee with the nut flush draw. Ivy barely ahead now.
And a chance we'll have a chopped pot here. Lee will endeavor with the continuation bet semi-bluff.
26,000.
Ivy whiffed on the flop. Can't see him continuing here unless he figures Lee whiffed on the flop.
Ivy's radar has been pretty good tonight. Now facing a decision against the chip leader. Ivy makes the call.
Phil's still in a passive mode. Passive seldom works.
All right, the turn card now. 6 of spades misses both players.
Now, Lee and Ivy still both with nothing.
Ronald Lee from Brooklyn against one of the most feared players in the game. Looks like he's going to fire again. This time 47,000.
Now, bluffing is contagious, and there's no known cure for it, Lon.
Ivy with ace high.
I'd love to see Phil come back over the top here. Of course, he's in a bad spot. He's got nothing, and Lee's got him covered.
Phil Ivy seems confused by Lee and lays down the best hand.
Lee bluffs him. Phil's now 2 for 4 tonight, but this one's understandable.
Ivy hitting a bit of a rough patch here, still trying to get a read on Ronald Lee, who continues to lead this tough field with just 19 players left. Welcome back to the World Series of Poker Europe main event. At the upper table here at the casino at the Empire, Victor Blum just raised to 23,000 with 8-6 of hearts. It was folded to Danny Steinberg, who has ace-jack.
Steinberg's twin brother Max, also a poker pro. They run an online poker blog called SuitedAces.com.
Steinberg with a re-raise to 80,000.
Couple of aggressive guys going heads up.
Blum makes the call with his 8-6 for 57,000 more.
2 more young guns I'm not inviting to my home game, Lon.
The flop is 6-4 king. Victor Blum outflops Steinberg with a pair of 6s, but Steinberg is going to bet it 80,000.
Steinberg has read my continuation donation book.
Must be played. About 500 behind.
Steinberg should have told him I'm not playing anymore if you raise because I have absolutely nothing.
Blum has Steinberg covered.
Blom can be as aggressive as Steinberg.
He needs 80,000 to call. And that's all he does. All right, so Blom ahead going to the turn. Turn card 7 of diamonds, a third diamond. Neither player has a diamond, though. Blom with a gut shot. Steinberg continues to fire, 240,000.
I believe DeVry University now offers a 2-year associate's degree in bluffing, but Steinberg appears to be in a graduate program.
Victor Blom, who knows a lot about bluffing himself.
Well, these days it seems you need to fire 2 barrels if you want to force a fold.
And Steinberg gets the fold from Blom and takes that pot.
Boy, Blom's got to be wondering if he ran to a monster or a monster play.
And that play by Steinberg pays dividends. He moves into elite company, over 800,000 chips. Chip average right now in the room just over 540,000. Back to the featured table. Coffee lays it down over to Baltasari. Pocket eights, he limps in for 10,000. Ivy with ace 10.
I don't like when Phil's on the headphones and chewing gum. I think it throws his game off.
Ivy has dropped below chip average. He is going to raise it up, though, here to 35,000 with ace 10.
Raise to 35.
Gledovich folds. Roland DeWolf with rags, waiting to fold.
What's Roland thinking about? Maybe he's wondering if Phil Ivy likes shepherd's pie.
Folded over to the chip leader, 24-year-old Ronald Lee with ace-king.
Well, Ronald Lee's got something to think about in the big blind. Baltasari limped in from under the gun +2, then Ivy raised right behind him. Lee, the big stack with the big hand.
Against the big name Phil Ivy and Baltasari with pocket eights. And Lee looks like he wants to raise it up. And indeed he does. Norman, he makes it 101,000.
Raised to 101.
So Baltasari lays down his pocket pair. So now to Ivy with ace 10.
See, if the headphones are off and he's sucking on a lifesaver instead of chewing gum, he folds us immediately. But Phil wondering if Lee is just trying to muscle up here with a weak hand.
Ivy, the 8-time bracelet winner. Trying to study the 0 bracelet winner, Ronald Lee.
I'm all in.
Ivy re-raises all in.
I call.
And Lee with the call to put Ivy at risk.
Phil Ivy now 2 for 5 on his reads, and this is the wrong game to bat 400 in.
Ronald Lee has Phil Ivy in trouble. Ivy needing to come from behind to stay alive.
Boy, Phil Ivy had 45 big blinds left there. He misread Lee's strength, and it might cost him his tournament.
All right, here's the flop. 9 tray 4. No help to Phil Ivy.
That's pretty bleak for Phil Ivy. He's going to need a 10 or a couple of runners to stick around.
The turn card now is a king for Lee, and that will bring an end to Phil Ivy's run here in London.
Bum.
Ivy gets a 10 on the river, but it matters not. He is gone.
Hope he takes the headphones off before he cashes.
Ivy acknowledges a job well done by his executioner, Ronald Lee, with almost 1.5 million chips. Just a few blocks from the main event, the lights of Piccadilly Circus shine brightly on one of Europe's most cosmopolitan cities. Welcome back. Phil Ivy's out, and our field reporter Natalie Pinkham is with him.
I am indeed, Phil. Shocking disappointment for all of us, and I'm sure it is for you. Your face says it all. How disappointed are you?
I'm very disappointed. I wasn't too happy with my performance. There was a few missteps along the way, and hopefully next year I'll do a little better.
Can you detail those missteps for us?
Well, the last hand I had ace-10, the guy had ace-king. A guy limped up front, I raised, and he re-raised. I thought he was a little weak, so I moved in, he had ace-king. So just a misstep, you know, it happens.
It does indeed. How tough is the field out there, do you think?
So it's a very tough field. You know, it's one of the toughest tournaments of the year. Because you know, players come from all around the world, and with the internet nowadays, the players have gotten so much better.
And what's up next for you?
I'm just going to relax a little, you know, enjoy London, and figure it out.
I think you deserve a drink after that. It's really disappointing to lose you, but thank you very much, Phil Ivy. Back to you in commentary.
All right, thank you, Natalie. A look at the PokerStars.net chip count shows Ronald Lee in command. London native James Board, the only other player over 1 million chips. Rivals Danny Steinberg and Victor Blom, 4th and 6th, respectively. The players in new seats now after a redraw. Just 2 tables left. Some heavy hitters here at the featured table. Victor Blom, the hyper-aggressive Swede, and Danny Steinberg with over 800,000 chips. And a new face here, 29-year-old Dan Fleischman, the